Well, during this question and answer period, please try and sit still and do the meditation, because any kind of undisciplined movement, it really disrupts the whole energy of the class. So just try and stay centered and do the meditation. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? I just have one thing, some of you, the room, please try and, some of you, the room you're sitting in is so dark I can barely see you. And when you sit in the meditation class, you have to make sure that you're lit, because I work with each person in the class and I go from person to person and transmit, the Shakti. And if I can't see you, it's very hard to do that. And there's some of you like Mary, I almost never can see you when you come to class. It's so dark. And also, this is, new for, Kevin and Michelle. Try to lighten up the room around you so that I can see you. It's much more important because then the energy will be stronger. Does anyone have a question?
Stuart, I have a question.
Yes.
It's regarding people passing away. There's been a number of different childhood friends that have passed away this year, and it's like taking their memories, or is there a certain particular thing that we do when somebody passes? These were people my age, so it's even more difficult when they're young,
Yes, it's, look, the best thing you can do is just love them and let them go. Best thing you can do is respect the fact that there's birth and there's death, and one really follows the other. We all have to go through it. And the sense of loss, should be more a sense of gratitude for the time you spent with that person, what you shared with them, what they taught you in your life, and not through lamenting and crying and holding on to them and keeping their soul from evolving. Look, basically, death is like a vacation, You go away for 40 days or so and wind up coming back, doing it all over again, trying to grow. I tell you a story. I once had a student who had AIDS, and I knew him for a number of years. And then he had this thing called Kaposi sarcoma, which his whole body was covered with scales, and he couldn't get out of bed. He could barely breathe. He couldn't move his arms, his legs. And I remember going to visit him in the hospital, and I said to him, I said, look, just let go. Let go. I said, you're going to come back here a beautiful baby with everything in the world to live for, so that your life really will have a possibility of the greatest treasures. And all you're holding on to is this condition. And, he just was lying there and he just shook his head and he said, thank you. And the next day he let go. I had the same experience with my mother, I told her, I said, you don't have to keep holding on. I can take care of myself. My sister can take care of herself, and why continue this impossible suffering for no reason? And then also the next day she left. So life and death are really, it's like a marriage. They're integral to each other. We rejoice when somebody's born and we cry and lament and get full of all kinds of anguish and unhappiness if somebody leaves. But I think the greatest gift you can give to somebody who left is find them in your heart, love them, Let them go. Let them evolve. Let their soul evolve. Let their soul find its path to a new life. And don't drag them back to the earth. They're saying, look, I need a rest. You know, I need a rest from all of this. And I'm moving on, and we have to respect that. We truly have to respect that. And, look, young people, old people, I mean, it's all karma. And actually, there's no such thing as death. What dies is the body. The soul of a human being doesn't die, it evolves. It moves on to the next lifetime to learn whatever it has to learn so that it can continue to evolve and get closer to God. I mean, anyone that you love and anybody that's close to you lives in your heart. I remember when Rudy died, I don't think anyone in this world, well, there was never anyone, including my own parents, I loved more than Rudy. And was so grateful for what he gave to me in my life, saved my life. I'm here doing these classes today because of Rudy. And it's really the reason I do the classes, out of gratitude to him. And I was in an airplane with him and we hit a mountain and he passed on. And while he passed on, I was holding his hand when we hit the mountain. And I'll never forget, I just, first thing I did was thank him for letting me be with him the last moment of his life. And then I said, now I'll find out what these last 6 years were really about. Did I learn what he had to teach me? And then I spent 20 years at least working my ass off to learn everything, or I wouldn't say everything, maybe 60, 70% of what he taught me. And I'm still working on myself, learning what he taught me. He's never been gone. I never lamented. I never tried to drag him back to the earth. I just said, Stuart, you have a job to do. What did you learn from him? Can you apply it to your life? And honestly, it took at least 20 years to learn 60% of what he taught me. And I'm still learning. And this is really a long time. So I think we have to let go of people and we have to begin to perceive death in a completely different way. It's not the end. You understand? It really is just an evolutionary process of the soul moving on. And yet people are so frightened. And honestly, they're not frightened of death. They're frightened of life. What we know about life, you could fit into our hip pocket, And everybody is so frightened of the unknown. And the real unknown is life. It's not death. And once we stop being afraid of life, we'll stop being afraid of death. Because there's no separation between the two. I mean, I've been through many, experiences with people who passed on. People that were very, very close. Like Rudy, there was nobody closer to me. And my response to it was, I don't want him to come back here. I will do whatever I have to do to work in his lifetime so that he doesn't have to come back here and do his thing over again. When I was a kid and when my father died, I cried. I was very, I didn't know. But as I got older and I began to learn about all this that I learned from Rudy and other teachers, and I said, no, there's no such thing as death. Learn to love your life. You'll never be afraid of death. You'll never hold on to anything that is part of the evolution of consciousness that gets people closer to God. I mean, the little girl who was in my book, Leah, you know, I mean, for God's sake, she was the youngest person who ever came to one of my meditations. She was 7 years old. She used to come to meditation. And then she disappeared with her mother for 3 years. I didn't see them. And I get a phone call. She's in the hospital. Find out that she has 3 weeks to live. It's heartbreaking. At the same time, what I learned from that child is beyond. It's beyond what I learned about healing and inner work and growth from that young lady who was struggling with her own life. I have so much gratitude for that. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Hi, Stuart.
Yes.
What's the difference between letting go of someone and yet still having them in your heart?
Well, listen, you know, holding on to them is all an emotional entanglement with fear, insecurity, loss, you know, and it drains you of all your energy. Allowing them to live in your heart will bring nothing but love and joy into your life. And it'll really let you understand that anyone that you truly love lives inside your heart. Rudy is in my heart. My parents are in my heart. My daughter is in my heart. You understand? You know, and that really is the key to all of this. And if you love them, you have to love them unconditionally. You know, and you're not hanging on to them, you're just loving them and letting them go, you know? I mean, you're not holding on to their soul, you're letting them just live inside you, you know, to be part of you, you know, without clutching at them and lamenting and crying and, you know, and trying to keep them from evolving. You're just loving them unconditionally. And if you truly open your heart, it extends way beyond the confines of the human body, endlessly into the cosmos, endlessly. I mean, you hold on to people when they're living in your brain. And you're holding on to people. Does anyone else have a question?
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Well, does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Well, anyway, tomorrow in the United States is Thanksgiving, and this has been an amazing year, absolutely amazing year. And I'm so grateful for what has taken place in this year, you know, that I mean, I cannot comprehend it or even try to comprehend it. It's been so extraordinary. And all of you have been, not all of you, but many of you have been part of this. And I'm telling you, you know, if we need Thanksgiving to be grateful, we're in a lot of trouble. We should have Thanksgiving every single day. We should have that gratitude in our hearts every single day, because every single day is a miracle. It's a miracle that we make it through the day, that we are alive, we breathe, we have a connection with God, we have an opportunity to grow. And I think that this is a very important aspect of the inner work that I teach and I learned from my teacher. I often, when people, you know, their birthdays, I often tell them, may this day and every other day of your life be filled with joy and love and gratitude. You know, happy birthday. May every day of your life be a birthday. May every day of our lives be Thanksgiving, gratitude for what we've been given and what life is all about, what we're learning, growing, So, you know, there won't be a class tomorrow. It's like, you know, I also need a day. You don't realize I teach 15 classes a week of this, you know, and it's a lot. And I need a day off. So tomorrow's Thanksgiving and I'm going to just have a good meal and rest and relax. But there will be a class next Sunday. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. I mean, I don't, you know, I just see names of people on Hussein, if you're there, maybe in the next class I can see you. Okay, it would be really great. So figure out how to get your picture up, you know? Anyway, God bless you all and thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next Sunday. Bless you.
God bless you.
God bless.
Stuart.
So grateful for you, Stuart. So
Thank
grateful.
you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All of
Yeah.
you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank